This is Mr. Perez. I'm going to teach you a few basic functions of the type tool. The type tool is located in the Illustrator toolbar, and it's the T. If you notice, there's a little tiny triangle here, which tells me that there's more options to the tool. So I can pull it out and I get a few options. There's like the vertical type tool, there's type on a path, and there's other type tools here. I'm gonna play with the basic type tool. And if you type, just by clicking, you can type words, which is wonderful. Now, what I don't like about this feature is if I want the word to be below, I'll have to hit return. I can do this something different with type. If I go to the type tool again, I click and drag. Okay, I'm making like a little area where I can type, almost like one of those 3M sticky notes. Now I can type inside this area. And do you see how the type moves automatically? This is really nice because it allows me to do things like changing the alignment. Notice that when I click with the black arrow on the type area, once I click there, all the options here are going to change. Now I got type options. For example, type size. I can change alignment. This is center. Kind of like what you do when you type a poem. You can align to the right. So this is really convenient. I see more options here than you do here. You notice that if you make it too small, you get a tiny little red square here. That's telling you that you don't see all the type that you have, that you need to make it bigger. Okay. I'm gonna type something else here. Let me get the type tool. I need to be near. I click, space. Let me see. Now I can type inside this area. And I can also move the type into another area. Now, because I typed too much, it did not fit on the space. But that's easy to solve. I just click the black arrow and I can make this text box larger. Or, this is a really neat feature. I can actually pick up the type that I have here, that extra type. You see if I click right here on the red area, you get to see the icon now telling me that the rest of the type is coming along with me. Let's say I want to put it right over here. And now they're connected. So if I start like tapping more here, let's say I type hello class. You notice how the type move to this other area here now. Okay. If I make this area smaller, I can take the type and move it, let's say, over here. And they're all connected to each other, the link. So these are really neat features of the program. I'm going to delete all this because I'm going to show you something else. I can have the word type, okay? Because it's only one word, I don't going to worry too much about it, about making a little space and whatnot. Now, when I go back to the black arrow right here, which is your basic arrow, I can do things like, if I click inside the type area, let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. If I'm there, okay. You see, if I click here, I can actually move the letters. If I go outside to one of the corners, notice how the cursor is going to change into that two-headed arrow. That means that I can rotate it. If I hit shift and keep the shift key down at the same time, it's going to move in 45-degree intervals. So it's really precise then. If I let the shift go, it goes anywhere I want. Okay. Now, for the typographic portrait, you have to be very careful because you're allowed to move the type any way you want, but you're not allowed to distort it. You will lose points for that. Distortion is doing this. You see how the letters go all squeezed? That's wrong because you're distorting the type. I can undo it by clicking Command and the letter Z. Z is the last letter of the alphabet. Undo, which is the same, is the last action that you did. That's the way I remember it. And you have several undos in Illustrator. So be careful with the type project. If I want to make these letters larger, I can just go to the corner. I press Shift and keep it pushed down on the keyboard. Then I can enlarge it any way I want. And I can let go. Finally, the last thing you can do is you can play with the space between the letters. And that's called tracking or kerning. Kerning is when you change the space between two letters. Tracking is when you do the whole word. And you can go to the window, type character or Command T, and you're gonna get the character menu, and I'm gonna change the kerning here. For example, the V and the A are a kerning pair. Normally you put them a little closer together. So I'm gonna type between them, and instead of -40, I can go to, let's say, 50. And look how far away they are. Or I can hit Option and the arrows on the keyboard, and then you can move them. And when I say hit Option, I mean like press it and keep it down. So you can play a little bit with things. I'm gonna change it here again. Right click. Notice as I change this, the number here changes. You know, it's 40. I'm gonna go to -60. If I change the whole word, I will be going to this one. There we go. You see everything changed there. And it might be helpful for your project. What else can I do for the project, for the type project? Remember, you can do type on a path. And we did that on a previous video. I want just the stroke or the line to have color. I don't want any fill. So I can go like that. And I can get the type tool, get it close enough. And the tool knows that you're going to type on a path. And you just start typing. This is where playing with tracking becomes very convenient and kerning. I'm going to kern these letters. I click here, and I'm going to get them a little further away. Option, and I click the right arrow. Just separate them a little bit. Sometimes they get too far away. Maybe this one's here. I want them a little closer. So you can play that way with them. Or you can go to the black arrow. And once you see that little arrow showing up, watch the pointer. You see, I can click and I can move them down it. If I want to play with this, the line itself, the path, I use a white arrow. It's already selected, so now I'm going to click the point I want to edit. You see there's several points. There's one here, there's one here, there's another one here, and there's another one here. I'm going to click, let's say this one. I click, handlebar show, so then I can do funky things like that. Let me click this one, and I'm going to go like that. Now I go, ooh, that space is too odd. I'm going to get them closer together. I push down Option, and with the arrow keys on the keyboard, I can play with that space. So there's a lot of things you can do. It's very convenient. I still have the type tool. I can select it, and I can change the typeface. Let's say instead of Myriad, I'm going to go for Palatino. And whoops, it didn't take. Let me see. Palatino, regular. There we go. Now I got a problem here, you see? So Option, and I will use the right arrow to change the spacing to make it look nicer. So these are all things you can do with type. It's very convenient. And that's how you can do your portrait. You can play with letters like that. Finally, there's a really cool menu, and it's under Type, and it's glyphs. When I click the glyph option, a whole window shows up. And every time I have a typeface, it'll show me all the options for that typeface. Palatino have a lot of them. And that way you can browse and see if you got a good letter to use. If I change typefaces, like Myriad Pro, I get the options here. You're gonna notice that some typefaces, like those you download from the internet for free, they're usually very small. They don't have as many elements as a full-blown typeface like Palatino would have. This is all right now. I hope this helped you with your projects. Take care, eh?